Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. KP George led the effort to fundamentally transform Fort Bend County from a traditional Texas country town, from a town that was deeply religious. It held deeply religious values. It was a family-oriented town where the family unit was cherished. It was a community. And he wanted to take the nature of this town, the culture of it, the long-standing traditions, and overturn it. He and his administration worked tirelessly. And for every critique I have for KP George and his team, they work hard. They work tirelessly to change the culture of Fort Bend from a peaceful country town to his version of a Marxist utopia, a tyrannical state where the government begins to interfere in matters of your health, in matters that involve people's private sexuality and matters of the bedroom, things that should be kept private, things that should not be discussed, were flagrantly and openly discussed, promoted in the public sphere by our elected officials, completely inappropriate behavior. He wanted a government where the government becomes the parent over your child. Where does the lawlessness end? It has no ends with this administration. He wanted a government where the government is used as a weapon against the people of Fort Bend County. Never in the history of Fort Bend County have we had a threat like what was brought to us by the administration of KP George and the cabal of county Democrats. Now, the question is, where do the crimes start and where do they end? And with that being said, we will take a look at one of his first and most audacious actions, and we will look at the Wuhan flu that was dropped on our people and his response to it. I'm going to quote KP George, quote, "I will do everything possible to bring the vaccine to our county. All I can say to county residents is to be patient. We are working hard to get the vaccine to you," unquote KP George. There is KP George bringing some sort of a potion to us that he calls a vaccine, that he calls a medicine. As of today, 2.6 million, almost 2.7 million vaccine injuries are reported in the VAERS database. The VAERS database is a publicly held, publicly run database. KP George is a public official, and he knows about the VAERS database because we told him about it. It's not our job to tell him about the VAERS database. It's his job to know it. But he knew it, and he brushed aside all of these facts, these statistics, these data, and he went on and pushed this vaccine on the people of Fort Bend and made this county the most vaccinated county in the state of Texas, largely because of the county administration under Fort Bend County. Of the 2.7, nearly 2.7 vaccine injuries reported in the VAERS database across the United States, 49,644 people have died. 49,000, more than 49,000. How many of those people are in Fort Bend? How many of those people are the direct result of the activism of our leading county official? We hired KP George to run the roads, to run the infrastructure, to make sure the blinking lights are working, to make sure the trucks are gassed up, nothing more. And yet he takes this role to bring this concoction to our people. How many of these 49,000 deaths are the result of KP George? Of 49,000 deaths across the state of the United States, 499, almost 500 in the state of Texas. Do you think any happened in Fort Bend County, the most vaccinated county in the state of Texas? Do you think any of these people are dead because of KP George? That's the question before you. Yeah, he ran his scheme to paint the people of Fort Bend as racist, his phony Facebook scheme, his fraudulent scheme. Does that even compare to what he did with these vaccines? We filled that county building with 300 citizens telling him to stop this nonsense. And they brushed it aside. They ran their Facebook schemes. And now nearly 500 Texans are dead. Where do the crimes begin? Where do the crimes end? Now, let's talk about his interests over your children. When Governor Abbott put an end to the nonsense of placing masks, forcefully placing masks on the faces of our children, making them all meaningless drones in communist fashion. When Governor Abbott ended that, KP George, who has no jurisdiction over the schools, went to District Judge Christian Becerra, best buds, and got an order overruling the governor. And he got those masks back on your kid's face, whether you like it or not. There's KP George telling you how your child will be dealt with from a medical standpoint. Who is this guy? He's not the father of your child. But he's going to go to Christian Becerra and get that done? By the way, it should be noted, Christian Becerra is now running for county judge. So we need to remember how he gave KP George the authority for this lawlessness. Hypercapnia and hypoxemia was being communicated from all of our medical officials when this was happening. It was coming down in the children's, which is too much carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. The bloodstream should not have carbon dioxide. They're putting the masks on the kids are sucking in the carbon dioxide. It's going in their bloodstream. KP George's medicine's coming to you. He knows what's best for your kids. My kids aren't going to have hypercapnia. I told them they'll breathe oxygen. That's what we were made for, oxygen. Okay, then he put Fort Bend on the national page by aligning with the Disney Corporation and its sick sexual interests. In the state of Florida, they passed a law. It's called House Bill 1577. Now listen to this law. This law states that these educators are no longer allowed to teach sexual and a sexual agenda to elementary kids, not to middle school, not to high school. It should go across the board. They did it just to elementary kids. KP George raised the roof on that one because he thinks he knows what's best for your kids. He invited Disney Corporation to Fort Bend County as if the people want to be put out on public display like that in Texas. We don't. He did that. He embarrassed us. He made us a national laughingstock, a national joke. He goes on CNBC, CNN, quote, while you, your company employees, and diverse fans face authoritarian, anti-business, and culture war attacks from extremists in Florida, we in Fort Bend are more ready to welcome the Disney family with thousands of good-paying jobs and billions of dollars in investments, unquote. KP George. KP George saying that the people of Fort Bend are going to invest in Disney because they want kids to be displayed, these graphic images to be displayed to kids. That's what he's speaking on your behalf. Where does it end? Quote, I invite you to visit Fort Bend County and see for yourself why our community is the best place for a new Walt Disney World resort, unquote, KP George. Keep your Disney World. Keep your sickness. This guy. Okay, so let's talk about his obsession with the sexualization of Fort Bend County. He has a sick sexual interest in Fort Bend County. It has no ends. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna pull this up. His actions under KP George. KP George, he creates the Queer Alliance Committee, was launched as an official Fort Bend County government initiative for sexual safe spaces. What are you doing, man? Like, don't go there. That's private. Why are we putting this out? Normal people don't talk about this stuff in circles, okay? These weirdos, this is the stuff they think about at night, and then they run for office. Quote, or another one, Fort Bend will have its first Fort Bend County Pride Festival with assistance from KP George's office. Okay, Pride Festivals where these large men dress up in sexual feminist outfits and then jiggle in front of children. The people of Fort Bend County want that? Right. Okay. Yeah. KP George coming to you. Pride lunches are held by KP George's office where sexual networking and event planning is done. First, it goes, Fort Bend County Pride additionally announced a partnership with Precinct 4 Commissioner Dexter McCoy for the initiation of the new Fort Bend County Pride Festival. We're going to have a festival over this stuff. Bring your kids. We'll jiggle in front of them. Okay? This is inappropriate. This is not the purpose of government. And again, what he's attempting to do, they're attempting to subvert the natural nature of Fort Bend County, which is wholesome, good, neighborly, religious family people. And that's not what these political operatives are. They're operating on some sort of a foreign interest. They are not operating in the interest of the people of Fort Bend County, and they are legally obligated to operate in our interest. I'd like to note, KP George also held a public rally with nearly the entire county Democrats to advocate for the foreign ownership of Texas lands. Our Senator Carolyn Kokhorst had proposed a bill to outlaw land ownership of certain foreign countries that had an adverse, hostile nature towards our country. KP George and the crew, the Democrat crew, went on and called that racist. So if you think that it is only normal for Texans to own Texans' lands, only normal for Americans to buy American lands, that makes you a racist, according to county Democrats under KP George's leadership. Where is he getting these ideas? Where are these? They're not coming from the people of Fort Bend. The people of Fort Bend are not at their dinner tables at night, pounding their fists, saying, goodness gracious, I wish we could have more foreigners buy our lands. This is not the burning issue on the minds of people of Fort Bend. All of these sexual agenda is not on the minds. Where are they getting these ideas? Who's sending their agenda into them? What foreign entity has employed our county administration? This is not normal. And I'm asking the citizens to start asking these questions. The Democrats, what they're doing, they're throwing KP George under the bus. He was their leading quarterback. He was their star player, their franchise player. He won election after election. They loved KP George. All they do is selfies with KP George. And now KP George, what they're doing, throw him under the bus and hope you forget about what the county Democrats did, because he's only one of them. This agenda that I told you, it takes a team. It takes a team. He's one man. So when are we, as citizens of Fort Bend County, going to start asking these questions? When are we going to start lifting the rocks up and looking under the rocks, saying, what's the real story here? I want to talk about a couple other things real quick here, just to make the point that the attempt was not just KP George. There was an overall attempt to portray county residents as the new terrorist threat. The jean jacket was becoming the new burqa. The flannel shirt was becoming the new headdress, right? And so, there was an attempt to do this. I'm finding my notes. So the jean jacket was becoming the new turban. The flannel shirt was becoming the new burqa. That's what they were doing, right? They were trying to take. This is so illegal what they were doing. They were creating a narrative so they could put the guns at you. They could make you the criminal element. Okay? They did it with our Muslim population earlier, that they couldn't get any more out of that. They needed a new bad guy. It's the fireman setting the fire to put the fire out. So the new bad guy was becoming the residents of Fort Bend County. So just to give you a couple of ideas, county police officials held a response to the January 6th Trump rally where they let Trump supporters know, without saying the word Trump supporters, but it was unequivocally clear, that they were now in the sights of the police. They were the new targets of the police. Why did they do that? They were all Democrats. Why were they doing that? They were doing that to let you know. They want you to go away, to quit your political activism. It's an intimidation threat, right? They put out this idea that in Fulshire, there's a Boogaloo Boys threat. This new Boogaloo Boys, some sort of a Trump terrorist cell. They wear flannel shirts. And that group was going to be the new threat to elections. They were going to show up at elections and threaten minorities, and the Democrats needed to step in front of them to stop them, right? They created an elections task force where the Democrats would largely have say over how elections go, because Fort Bend County residents are the new threat to our lives. They would place police, handpick police officials in polling locations. It wasn't just KP George. There is a huge crew here that benefits from the recharacterization of our own people. Okay? And so these are the questions of our time. And this is the Chris Heasley Show, and on this show, we will bring you all the ideas, the content, the information that you need to take back your village, your borough, your township, your city, your school district, your county, our great Texas counties, and the great state of Texas. But there is an obligation that comes with the show, and the obligation is on you to get involved at the local level, because action, change only happens at the local level. And so we need you to take an active stance. We haven't had tyranny in our midst this bad since 1836, when our finest, our best men, bravery that is unimaginable, they went to the front, the battlefront in the Alamo, and stared down evil. That's what they did. And thank God for those men, because they did the heavy lifting. We don't need to do anything like that. All we need to do is pick up the phone, start calling and asking questions. That's all we need to do. Start going to rallies, start going to school board meetings. That's all we do. Ask questions, and don't take their one-worded answers as the answer. And with that being said, we have a great show today. On today's show, we have Sandra Bramble, president of the Cypress Women's Club.
Cypress Republicans.
Oh, goodness gracious, I'm sorry.
That's
President of the Cypress Republicans Club.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are
Good,
you?
good, very good. And Tamara McFarlan, Women's Republican Club of Katy.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Can you tell us what role you hold with that group?
I'm the VP of Legislation and I'm on the Election and Integrity team.
Oh, very good, very good. Great. Well, ladies, I want to just start off this show with Sandra. I want to hand it off to you. You're not in Fort Bend County. You're in Harris County. But it's a mirror copy of what's happening in Harris County.
Right.
It's all the same characters, players, different names, but the same types of roles. But can you tell me how these county level tactics, this leftist agenda at the county level, how's it being received across the state of Texas?
Across the state of Texas, the thing that we are noticing is it has energized the grassroots movement. We are watching, for example, our club has grown significantly because the grassroots have had enough. They are at the point that they are saying, you know what, I'm tired of being lied to. I'm tired of being told the same story after story. Like right now, for instance, it seems that there is a megaphone out there, and every Republican House member or senator is saying this was the most conservative House we've had in forever. The only difference is grassroots are watching, and I don't know if that was happening for years, since whenever, but it is happening now. A lot of our members in both the club and the coalition, we are following our elected officials, their votes. We are getting involved. We are showing up. We are teaching classes. We are engaged in our community and what is happening. And I think what is the result of that is that our elected officials are now on notice of what the grassroots is doing. The grassroots is no longer a group of groupies that want a photo op. They are people that care about our school systems and the school boards and what is being taught to our children and what is happening in our homes and whether or not we're being forced to get vaccines. All of that, our grassroots are very engaged, and that is the difference.
Very good. Yeah, I'm glad it's certainly happening. Tamara, what do you think about my opening monologue?
I mean, KP George switching to the Republican Party is so laughable. We've got a lot of Democrats in Fort Bend County pretending to be Republicans, and he's just joined that league. I remember when he did the mask mandates on kids. My son had gray skin after wearing a mask, so I finally told him, don't wear it. And we just said no, but he is the classic definition of a Marxist communist. The Democrat Party is the modern communist party now. That's undeniable. Democrats that are still Democrats are wise to listen to immigrants from communist countries and know that the Democrat Party is the modern communist party. They espouse racial division, CRT, DEI, sexualization of children. These are all Marxist ideals, and, you know, they need to just wake up, turn off the news, and join the right side. You know, meet me in the middle and join the right side, because the Democrat Party has left you.
Yes.
All right, so the first thing that I led off with, my argument is that his chief crime is not this Facebook fraudulent scheme that he did. He just got busted with that one. But with the COVID, the Wuhan flu, the vaccination plan, how can you go in as a county administrator and there's all this talk and discussion about slow down with these vaccines, don't do them. And he does not, like a salesman, he's a salesman. In one ear, out the other. He's looking to close the deal. He's not looking for discussion. And he just doubles down, puts the pedal to the metal, and goes hard for the vaccines as if he didn't hear anything that we said.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, he went in the opposite direction, accelerated the vaccine push, and hired a private consulting firm to push the vaccines in Fort Bend County.
Next wave strategies.
Exactly. I mean, 300,000 plus, who knows what else, what other contracts they got, and they were basically a shell company. I mean, it's Marxism, it's corruption, it's fraud, waste, and abuse, and it's got to stop. It's time for change, and we need Republicans in charge.
Yes. We need the grassroots to come back on board, for our grassroots to say, no, I will not follow, no, I will not do that, to be making the phone calls, to show up, to be activists. We need our people to stand up and say, enough of this.
Yeah. Your point is very valid, because what happened is this contract was handed out to Next Wave Strategy. So what they did, they dropped the Wuhan flu on us, and then the county, as if they had it's almost like they had a business plan in place. They just flip a switch. Okay, go, push the vaccines, as if there's financial interest there, as if there's checks coming in one form or another, which if I had to bet money, I would bet almost certainly that people are getting wealthy off this stuff. Okay, so what happens is they do that, and then they are so audacious that they hire Next Wave Strategies to go door to door, to knock on your door, on your private home. The government comes calling to ask you intimate questions about your specific health, about your body, and then to ask if you got your vaccination. Is there anything more totalitarian about that? Now, what Andy Myers told us is that there was a second scheme involved in this door-to-door knocking scam, because at the same time they were polling you about political questions, and the Democrats were using our money to push two birds, one stone. It's a twofer. They get to push their vaccines, and then they find out who are the Democrats that they can call on in the next election. Andy Myers let us know that was one of their schemes in that, right? So what I'm saying is that because we only found this out because Andy Myers could not take that up on his own. We had an army of citizens expose this Next Wave Strategies contract and give guys like Andy an opportunity to go out there and help us expose it. But my point being is that it was citizens that got involved, stood up to authority, and pushed back on them, to your point.
Yes.
So what is your opinion of that, though? The coming to your door and asking you about questions about who you are, your vaccination, all that stuff.
I mean, it is. It's signs of dictatorship, and it's wrong. And our tax dollars are funding this. You know, just like USAID, we're funding all of these protests that are happening across the country. We're funding these shell companies that are Democrat operatives. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of citizens paying money to fund these leftist operations. And thankfully, Trump is shutting that down. And they're going to lose their funding soon. And hopefully we see it dry out, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that we need to educate our citizenship about our rights. You don't have to answer the door. You don't have to answer these questions. You don't have to be part of what the left is trying to say. You have to tell us this. You have to give us your information. You have to take the shot. You have to whatever. We're still in the United States, and for a while there it was looking a little questionable, but I think we're back. And we need to be teaching the people that we're around and our members and our clubs and our Republicans and our grassroots, We need to teach them, these are your rights, use them. Because as long as we keep giving in to what the left wants to do, they have power.
On that point, see, the slow creep of totalitarianism, it creeps in inches before they can get it to a sprint. And what KP George, what the county administration did in the beginning was you would walk into a county building and there would be some sort of a facial recognition technology there that would ask you to hold still while it would take whatever measurements it needed to take. It was probing you. You know, again, that's completely intrusive. It's invasive. It's your intimate data that they're collecting. The face. The face is the most unique characteristic on the body, even more so than the thumbprint. Thumbprint would be too obvious. So they just say, hold still while we get your face.
Or your temperature.
Thank you. Okay, so temperature. You know, they've completely bamboozled us on that because we think, oh, the temperature, oh, it's nothing. The temperature is an intimate internal body reading. And again, this is about kiss the ring. This is about you will do what I say. And in order for a scam artist to get that done, he's got to go slow. I just want to take your temperature. You know, I want to take your child's temperature. Is this not small steps towards a more invasive
Well,
state?
and then the leap is I want to sexualize your children. You know, when we look at what's happening with curriculum, books, you know, we did just lose our Katy ISD and Fort Bend ISD to leftists that took down our conservative majorities. But thankfully, God provides, and now we have the state legislature just passed laws to fill those gaps. So these Marxists can no longer, you know, sexualize kids in school. So we have the passage of SB 12 by Steve Toth. We're truly blessed to have some of these representatives like Matt Morgan, Mays Middleton, Steve Toth, that are truly passing amazing conservative bills, filling those gaps for the Marxists at the local level. And now Texas has just made history. We're the first state in the country that bans gender ideology in schools and gender sex clubs.
But will our schools do it?
And that's
or do
why
we need
people
to be on top of that and watch to make sure that they do
People
that?
need to join local clubs, join the Republican Women's Club of Katy. You know, I'm here speaking on my own behalf, but I'll tell you, this is a very active club in getting local conservatives elected. It's really important that people join and get involved because, like Reagan said, we're just one election away from losing our freedom, and we saw that with Biden. So, you know, go to RWCK online or Republican, type that into your search bar, or RepublicanWomen'sClubOfKaty.com and join today to help turn Fort Bend County red.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's give it to us one more time. What was I want to make this point. The state does step in a lot. You know, we won a big battle at the state level. We largely got the rhinos out. They're still there a little bit, and they still fight like heck. But we largely got them out, and it allows things like this to happen. And there's other areas where the state is. You know what happens is local citizens are sort of like the 300 of the past. They hold the Democrats at bay until reinforcements come, which is state level legislation. Go ahead, tell us one more time. What happened at the state?
Okay, so we had huge victories this legislative session. Despite having a speaker chosen by Democrats, we just saw huge wins for protection of children and ending the sexualization of Texas kids. So we've got the passage of SB 12, which is the strongest child protection and parental rights bill in the country. It now sets a national standard, ending gender ideology, indoctrination, social transitioning of children in school, gender sex clubs, no more DEI. Parental rights are now further entrenched, better grievance processes. Superintendents are held to account. We've got SB 11 increases religious freedom in Texas K through 12 schools. We've got SB 13. It is a massive win because it adds teeth to the Reader Act, which was failing. So no more sexually explicit, profane books in school libraries and classrooms. And then we have HB 412 by Mays Middleton, which passed, and it's becoming law effective September 1st. School admin and librarians are now criminally liable if they provide sexually explicit content to minors. So, they better start getting these books out because we're not done. The problem is a lot bigger than people realize. There is porn in the school
Yes.
libraries, believe me.
I think it's more than the school libraries. I think it's being actively taught to the children.
Well, I haven't seen that in KDIC. What I have seen is a lot of CRT. I have seen assignments. I mean, my own kids with CRT assignment, racist, anti-white assignments that would shock you. And then you go through the 7-page challenge process with KDISD and they retain the material. Even though any state legislator and representative would say it's against the education code, but we've got the district approving it. Another one I want to talk about, HB 4623 creates a civil liability for school districts that knowingly hire, shield, or fail to report abusive educators. We have an epidemic of sexual abuse in Texas schools. People are not aware, how bad it is, that educators are sexually abusing and abusing students. It's getting swept under the rug.
All right, can I say one thing about that?
Yeah.
I've made the argument since the beginning that that the police, what they do is they go and they arrest these teachers and they prop that up as their trophy, which, okay, you should be arresting the teachers. But they do that when they don't want to go to the real threat, the bigger threat, which is the cartels, which is the secret societies. And what I'm trying to say is that ultimately, to end this epidemic, it's at the top, whatever was happening at Epstein Island. And if you go through the secret societies, if you go through the cartels, they will lead you to the queen bee, which is somebody that's been in that Epstein Island. And again, the whole purpose of the show is to advocate for local activism. And imagine if we lit up all of our county sheriffs and they started pounding their fists talking about feds stopping them from pursuing these crimes. And so what I'm trying to say is that I feel like cops, they go and they do these low-level busts, and it is a bust, it shouldn't be happening. But then they make us feel like this epidemic of trafficking is solved. And the truth is they don't want to go after the real threat. They don't have the courage.
We are quite literally paying taxes to pedophiles.
Yeah.
So, it has to start at the top, and hopefully now with Pam Bondi and the Trump administration, I mean, they are literally bringing down child traffickers in mass numbers. You just look up how many hundreds in Texas were busted just last week, a big child trafficking ring. We're back on. And every day is like Christmas with the Trump administration, and I'm just waiting for that to continue to trickle down to the local level. But it is really important
what we
that
need,
we get involved.
We need someone to bring that Epstein flight log and then start making diagrams, connecting parties to parties. And then that's what we need to happen, because these arrests at the local level, I want the big dogs to be taken down.
Yes.
And I just feel like these cops, they're afraid. But anyways, I apologize. I took you off subject.
I mean, the Democrat Party is literally imploding in front of our eyes. People are leaving. My friends that were Democrats, I mean, they are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. They see the corruption. They see the fraud. They see the sexualization. They don't want girls playing with boys in sports. They don't want boys and girls, and that's happening. And so Democrats are saying, this is insane. So, the Democrat Party is the best commercial
Yes.
for advertisement for Republicans. I mean, they're imploding, and I can't wait to see it continue because they're evil.
Are there more things at the state, or did you cover everything?
Okay. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. So right now, at the state level, the Texas Education Agency has opened up public comment for curriculum review. This is new. This is a new law that passed by HB 1605, which allows the State Board of Education to vote in approved curriculum, and school districts have to use that. Now, what gets approved will be funded by taxpayers at the state level. Okay, so a lot of these vendors have cleaned up their curriculum that they're submitting for review, but we have to remember, if we go to their websites, these mega vendors espouse radical gender ideology, DEI. It's all over their websites. And so I really do encourage people to go on the Texas Education Agency website, and it's im.tea.texas.gov public comments. And I want you to go to mega vendors like hmhco.com or Pearson, and just research the company. Okay, with your tax dollars funding this vendor, despite what they submit for curriculum review, look at the overall company and let the TEA know, should your tax dollars be funding these radical ideological curriculum vendors?
Okay, so there's our update at the state level. Getting back to the big news of this week. So this kind of legislation is coming through at the state level. Is that the reason KP George is switching teams?
Well, sure. I mean, the Democrat, but, he really could save face if he did the residents of Fort Bend County a true, justice would be to redistrict, redistrict the voting districts. He had divided up Fort Bend County illegally by race, admitted that on camera. He needs to redistrict. This needs to happen before the primaries next year. So yeah, he can save face and, try to gain some favor from Republicans by voting to fix these unlawful voting precincts. That should be the immediate next step at the next meeting. We must demand that as citizens, because right now we have precincts that are 18,000, 19,000 voters in Fort Bend County. The law says maximum number of voters, 5,000. So we've been out of compliance illegally for 2 years now, and it needs to be fixed before the primaries. So that's my call to KP George. If you're truly a Republican now, let's do some Republican things, like follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think it's a distraction. I think he's just trying to take the spotlight away from his crimes and wants to put it in the Republicans. The Republicans don't want me. The Republicans are, and so he's trying to gain favor from the Democrats by putting a bad light on the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the Republicans' response is going to be?
Abraham George already said, thanks, but no thanks.
I mean, it's kind of like gender ideology. A boy can't become a girl, and a girl can't become a boy. I mean, I don't think that KP George can change his stripes. I do think it's a distraction. But hey, if you're going to make the claim, walk the walk, right? Mm-hmm. Fix the voting precincts, vote with the other Republicans on the county commissioner's court, and make some positive changes and undo some of the insane Democrat policies that you put in, and come over to the Republican side. Use your vote while you're still there and fix what you've done. So I'm there for that.
Do you think that the Republicans, because we're watching local Democrats die on a vine, do you think the Republicans intend to, because I think that it's going to shift back to them. Do you think that they intend to actually fix the issues, or do you think they're going to do what needs to be done to get our county back in a good situation?
You mean Democrats?
No, Republicans.
I mean, at the local level, we do have a lot of really great clubs. Again, RWCK, join. But when we look at our local clubs, we do have a lot of infiltration of Democrat operatives coming into our clubs and actually just voting in one Republican primary, which is open right now. Anybody can walk in, cast a vote, use that record as a Republican. They could put in a blank ballot and they count. Now they're suddenly a hard Republican. I mean, our clubs are infiltrated, and we've got too many people within our clubs that are willing to cross the aisle and shake hands with Democrats, but you don't cross the aisle and shake hands with people that groom children. You just don't. So, we have a lot of good patriots, but we also do have a bit of a problem. But now Abraham George has announced, Texas GOP has announced that the primaries, Republican primaries, will be closed. You'll have to register as a Republican with the Secretary of State before the primaries. And so hopefully that'll close the gap on these Democrat infiltrators that are voting in our open primaries. That's how we ended up with a Democrat-run House, right? Yeah. They're voting in our primaries, open primaries, and selecting their rhino candidates and running as Democrat operatives are running. That's a known faction of the Democrat Party, is to run deceptively as a Republican. So,
What do you think? Because again, I kind of agree with that description. I think that everyone sees, like, the Democrats' number one weapon was the race card. And literally, like, KP George cannot even use the race card because he was so busted. And the race card's largely watered down. It doesn't have the sting it once did. And so I feel like they're really in a gunfight without a gun.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're reading the writing on the wall and they're moving to the right. They're doing that. What do you think? Do you think that our Republican Party is being infiltrated or has the threat of being infiltrated?
Oh, absolutely. There are multiple people in the Republican Party that I have thought exactly that about. I was like, I wonder if there truly are a Republican, if we really share the same values. I definitely think that we have already been infiltrated. But at the same time, I feel that our people, the citizens of this county, have stepped up and said, you know what? Even though the Democrat Party has labeled me as a Democrat because I'm Hispanic, I'm Vietnamese, I'm African American, whatever it is, they're stepping out. One of the pride and joys of our club is we are very diverse. Exactly what the Democrats claim. We have a mixture of races and ages and socioeconomic statuses because people are having enough. They're saying, you know what, I don't want to be identified as that. I don't want to be part of that party. And as a result, our elected officials are taking notice that we are no longer the same group of Republicans that we were maybe 10 years ago. We are now woken up, we are activists, we're people that are interested in the legislative process and how do we make changes. And just like the Democrats, we're not afraid to show up. We want to be part of the process, we want to speak up. And no, we will not go and destroy half the city, but we will show up and we will recruit our neighbors to come and vote and to be involved in that same process.
So Tamara, you were really involved with the Victor Perez campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think you got the support you needed from the Republican Party in that campaign?
No, it was really
Which, by the way, it should be noted that Victor lost.
Yeah,
He was
Victor
the incumbent.
lost.
Victor Perez was the incumbent president of the school board for Katy ISD, one of the largest, most well-known school districts in the state of Texas. He was doing incredible work there, fixing up the finances, improved teacher pay, largely removed the sexual agenda of the left sexual agenda from the curriculum, and then they put up a candidate against him, and they take Victor out. Go ahead. But do you think he got the support he needed?
No, I mean, the local Republican parties were predominantly silent, and provided proof that James Cross was a liberal.
Real quick, say who James Cross was.
So James Cross is the new school board member for Katy ISD that defeated Victor. And it was a very deceptive, very, very dirty and subversive campaign where, moms like me that were supporting Victor, and we would just get attacked by the left. And they lied and said that James Cross was a Christian conservative, which couldn't be farther from the truth. And the day after he won, he announced to the media that he's going to end the gender policy and the book banning. And, for the Democrats that are a few eggs short of a dozen, removing non-age appropriate books from children in school is not book banning for the 1,000th time. But it was a very deceptive campaign. We didn't have the support from, everybody just stayed silent and watched it happen.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, because James Cross voted it apparently in a Republican primary.
Do you think people believe that? Do you think they believed he was Republican?
Well, he voted in an open primary. He has that record apparently, and then the clubs are saying, well, he's a Republican. Well, no, you're not a Republican if you walk into an open primary and vote.
I think at the school board level, the Democrats are just a well-oiled, well-entrenched machine.
Well, they're backed by Indivisible. That's a well-known fact. So we've got Dawn Champagne, Rebecca Fox, and now James Cross on our Katy ISD school board that are literally affiliated with the group Indivisible. And Indivisible is the group planning all of the protests that are happening right now. And it is a group funded by the CCP and Soros money that's
And
been
Act Blue.
money laundered from USAID. That's a fact. So it's just scary to think that right in our backyards, right here in Katy, we have Soros-linked funding to our school board members. They're backed by Indivisible. I mean,
Yeah. Don't forget, Indivisible is a part of Act Blue.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this organization needs to be taken down. Americans are sick and tired of these protests. They're not protests. They're chaos, obstruction, blocking streets, vandalism, and calling for the assassination of our President Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can continue to do. And in fact, they're having a No Kings protest nationwide 2.0 on Independence Day. And then they're going to have another Musk takedown on June 28th. I mean, it's illegal to pay somebody to disrupt a business in America. I'm just waiting for our lawmakers to actually step in and say, this is illegal activity. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, we know KP George won't be at those rallies.
Well, and our DA won't do it.
But KP George, 6 months ago, he would have been leading that. He'd have been with the torch and the pitchfork, leading that rally.
True that. He's trying
Well,
to
he
keep
was
his job.
with Al Green on one of those protests, speaking out on
I
that.
believe it.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it's just political opportunity. I mean, it's really a good sign. I mean, things are really shifting in our direction. But, I think, it's very interesting that this strategy the left's doing. They just drop a vote in the Republican primary, and then they call themselves Republican.
That's right.
They come in. It's really it's
Deceptive.
interesting. It's quite an interesting time. The fact that things have shifted into now they're chasing us, they're reacting to us. That's
And
awesome.
they're downplaying their extremism. I mean, even in our Katy ISD election,
They have
you
to hide
had
their agenda,
radical, I mean, people that help the groomers sexualize children. Like, they're just fighting me for 5 years to provide sexual content to kids in school. They've downplayed and they're pretending to be moderates. Some of them are pretending to be conservatives. They're not. That is the whole Democrat Party platform is deception. That's their entire platform. And that's why it's caving in, and that's why people are leaving. They didn't leave the Democrat Party, as they say. The Democrat Party left them and got so radical and is not representing what their voters voted for.
Yeah.
They're not representing social justice. They're doing radical things that nobody voted for.
But I think that brings us to the point of the importance that we are a little bit over a year before the next primaries. This is the time to educate our people, to bring them out, to begin to train them. How do we get involved in any part of the election process?
Agreed.
So that when we get to the midterms, we are not electing rhinos again, and we're not electing Democrats to do the job and then complaining, why are we going through this?
Right.
Okay, well, let's talk about the rhino element. So there's two tactics, right? So number one, there's Democrats. They just drop that name in for the primary. They do one vote for the primary, then they say, hey, I'm a Republican, but they immediately go back. Like James Cross didn't do a good job of covering his tracks.
No, I
I
mean,
mean, he has literally nothing else he can say. I voted in one primary Republican, and I'm a dad and a Christian.
hey, but our databases that vet members of our clubs are basically using that voting record. And if you voted in a Republican primary, you're suddenly a hard Republican. It's ridiculous.
But what about the more subversive elements? I have to think that the establishment, the powers, that they see this shift. They see, for example, in Fort Bend County, again, 5 years ago, the Democrats were on offense, and everybody was a racist, and you were going to take the vaccine, and they were just so high on themselves. And here they are now, in a shooting match with each other, infighting, losing their star quarterback, so on and so forth. They're dying on a vine.
They got to pay their protesters
Yeah.
to make it look like they have popularity.
So what I'm saying is, I have to think that somebody's sending in infiltrators
Yep.
into our Republican Party to get close to people that are influential and then
Absolutely.
subvert us. If you're the Soros, if you're the evil billionaire, then what you think is okay, fine, judo move them. Let's use their own momentum against them. They did all of this work. Let's get our candidates in there, speak the tough talk, shut down all activism, and then just drown them out, right? The Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope method. And then we are exhausted, frustrated, we quit. They can take the ball back.
Literally.
That's my theory, but I don't have any proof. What do you think?
Billions and billions of USAID money has now been uncovered and shown. It's been funneling to the CCP, Soros, the most radical nonprofits have been using our tax dollars to work against us and fight us and fund these protests. These protesters, a lot of them are reimbursed. They're bused from location to location. Sure, you have some blind followers that join in and see the colorful ads, but they don't realize that they are the modern version of useful idiots to the dictator. Soros is trying to take down America, and he's using our tax dollars to do
But
it.
are we not being part of that? The Republican Party, I mean, how many Republican people do you know, or conservatives, or even independents, that will say to you, I'd rather not get involved, I'd rather not attend, I'd rather, and then we're really good at complaining about it, and complaining about how our politicians are running the country, but when it's time to roll up our sleeves,
They're not
we
active.
are those useful idiots. We are the ones that the left has convinced that
Well,
this is a topic
complacency.
you don't discuss.
Complacency.
Well, I've heard stories of all of a sudden these newcomers showing up at our Republican parties, and then a little bit of research is done, and we see that 24 months ago, they were in one leftist organization after another.
Oh, yes.
Now, if they come out, and there are people that are having the red pilling, and that's happening in epic proportions, but you can identify those people.
This
'cause
is not a red
They
pill
will
moment.
be genuine. They'll be like, look, I was wrong, and you will see it.
Yeah.
No, they hide it,
But
they
if
lie.
they hide it, they're there to subvert.
Yes, and I've had that happen twice now, where I vetted somebody, found out that they are, they're with the National Organization of Women as a Democrat operative to get Democrats elected, and they are infiltrating our local clubs and pretending to be. They didn't have a switch. They just voted in an open Republican primary, and they are still employed with these radical organizations. So there are operatives definitely infiltrating our clubs and trying to take down conservatives from the inside, and that's another
Or to
communist
control
move.
the conversation that happens in our clubs.
That's
With
right.
The speakers that come in and what the speakers say. I mean, there's organizations that actually will put rules on these clubs as to you may not speak this way, or you may not speak against a Republican, regardless of whether they're rhinos or not rhinos. And so we are our worst enemy.
Well,
Yeah,
to
I agree.
your point, that should fuel the activism.
Yes.
Because there's nothing more gratifying than staring down authority.
Yeah.
And when someone's attempting to bully you into a corner, telling them no, that is
I'm a
empowering.
And
nonconformist.
that is exactly why the birth of Cypress Republicans came about. Because it was a group of people that just said, you know what, we don't want to follow your rules. We want to create an activist group. And out of that, we had the birth of the Texas Coalition of Republican Clubs.
Love it.
We are almost close to 2,000 members now in a little bit less than a year. So we are looking for conservative grassroots people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and get busy in the Republican Party.
And I want to add to that. So that is so important for people to get involved. And they always go, how do I get involved? They're busy. Republicans are busy raising families.
We work.
We work. We actually have jobs. We're not paid protesters. But it's so important because the local Republican club, like the Republican Women's Club of Katy, RWCK, we do block walking. We train poll watchers. We cover the entire Fort Bend County elections with poll watchers and election judges. I started as a poll watcher, and now I am an election judge for
Yes.
Central Count. And I'm an election integrity team, and I do a lot of legislative, and this is all thanks to RWCK. So that is what they do, and everybody needs to join now. Go to RWCK on your internet search and go click join, and those membership fees help us get local conservatives elected.
Yeah.
We're very active. We have great speakers too. Our meetings are constantly visited by candidates and local politicians, so our members are in the know. Our next meeting in August, we're going to have Luke Macias from the Luke Macias Show. He's also a contributor to the Texas Scorecard, The Blaze, The Daily Wire. And so he's going to discuss what happened this legislative session, the good and the bad and the ugly. He's going to discuss closing the Republican primaries, which was just announced. So join. That's the best thing you could do to help turn Fort Bend County red.
And if I may put a plug in for our club, Cypress Republicans, you can find us at cypressrepublicans.com. We are also a very, very involved club. Our speaker this month is Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Congressman Luttrell will be for the month of August. We are hands-on. We train our volunteers. As a matter of fact, we just had a class last month where we invited our members to attend to be trained on how to use AI to search bills in the House or the Senate to find Democrat agenda in those bills, to find DEI, to find transgender, all of that stuff. We had a class on how to teach our members how to do it for themselves instead of having to read the entire bill. That seems to be thousands of pages nowadays.
Yeah.
And so we are very, very engaged. So we do invite our members, our people, to join us. We are $24 a year.
Yeah, and I just think that if we conclude that if we get Republicans elected, that we're good to go. It's
No,
never going to
no.
work because they all get corrupted. The Republicans are not carrying the leftist sexual agenda, all these sick ideas, but they absolutely will, find a profit motive if they're not watched. And it's only they have these schemes, and they're very intricate, and they're very complex, sophisticated, and they expect you never to figure out what their true intentions are.
Yeah.
And it's activism that uncovers it
Brings
for
it
them,
to
and
the
they
light.
get so upset when you figure it out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say all Republicans. There's some
Yeah.
solid holdouts that
Yeah.
cannot be bought, and I really support those.
Well, and absolutely. I'm just trying to say that the ones that are steadfast, they need our support.
Yes.
Because they will be overrun. And I'm just trying to say that it is very important that even when we get Republicans in there, that we continue to stay vigilant,
Yes.
because the opportunity for them to go the wrong way is
True.
always there.
Yeah.
So
And they're
Yeah.
being bombarded with offers.
offers all day
Yeah.
long. Yep.
And donations
Yeah.
funded by large organizations like the Texas Policy of Law, right? Funding J.C. Jaton's campaign to the tune of $647,000.
Or TLR.
And Dade Phelan, and then he goes and votes with Democrats for all kinds of crazy bills that Republicans vote against. So we have to really watch for that. There's big money behind
Yep.
some rhinos.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, thank you, ladies, both very much. It was a great hour. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning about what you got going on up in Cypress and everything that we have going on at the state level. Again, Sandra Bramble with the Cypress Republicans, and Tamara McFarlan with the Women's Republican Club of Katy.
Republican Women's Club of
Republican.
Katy.com.
There you go.
Join today.
There you go. Great.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you both very much. Yep. And this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show, and we will see you next